Good afternoon, everybody on YouTube. This is Rick Thomas from Obsolete Video Services. Okay, guys, we're finishing up the repair on this BVU-850. These are not fun to work on, and you do need to know what you're doing. These are way more complicated than the regular three-quarter pneumatics. These were the Cadillac of all three-quarter pneumatics, direct drive, motor driven, and they came, like I said, these were very robust with their own cards, and the mechanism was a lot more sophisticated than the mechanisms on the later models. First of all, let me show you what I did to this. I replaced all the knobs on the front, which were missing. Cleaned everything up. This front panel was loose, which was causing a lot of problems with the loading carriage, which was broke, which I did replace, which was a main problem because these front panels get loose and they start jamming the carriage a lot, and sometimes they either short out or jam in place or something, and they just don't work. So anyways, we changed out the loading carriage. We fixed the panel, which we had to do some gluing to get it to stay put because these tabs were broke on both sides. So we crazy glued it in place, so now that thing won't move at all. It won't shift. So we got that fixed. All right, guys, you play a tape. That's how it loads. And as you can see, it's a very complicated process to load one of these machines. All right, and once you get video coming up such as that, you know it's working good. Then you hit fast forward, you know that's working. All right, so we got this thing working really good. And as you can see, it does load. We did have to replace some cards, the servo, RS, and audio. I replaced 4 cards on here. They weren't quite right because capacitors, wear and tear. You know, he was going to start having issues with them. So I did have some issues with the servo not locking right. So I swapped out a few cards, which I did have a good machine that had a bad power and some other stuff that I just used for a junk machine because I want to go through all the trouble of fixing it. So swapped out all the cards on that and put them in this particular machine, gave them some new fresh cards, better machine that wasn't all beat to crap. This one here has a lot of miles on it, and went through a lot of wear and tear, so now we got it, you know, we brought it back to life and gave it more life that I think he's going to have no problem using this deck. Again, guys, we had to replace the loading arm motor and belt mechanism. I don't know if you can see that. That had to be fixed. I had to replace that gear, that loading gear way down there on the bottom. You see that gear down there? Where it's white, that had to be changed out. So we had to change out some gears, I had to do some alignments on it, I had to clean the video head, I had to change out the loading carriage, some cards, front cosmetic stuff that was all broke or missing, and new belt on the loading carriage. So we got this thing back up to where it belongs. All right, most of the time these decks, they jam, they don't load right after a period of time. The loading arms have to be totally re-lubed and adjusted, and everything else have to be taken out, and that's a little bit of work to say the least. Then you have to change out the belt and fix the motor, which I had another one on the side, so I was able to do that, and gears. So it's a lot of mechanism work on this thing. It had bad cards, front housing problems, and everything else. This particular unit has seen an awful lot of use, and plus it was sitting in storage, not in very good environment for a period of long time, but now we got it back up and running. So this is what Obsolete Video Services does, guys. We take the impossible, where it's like, oh, what a piece of crap, and we bring it back to where it belongs. I do not like machines that are all pieces of shit. I mean, missing knobs or covers or side panel. Drives me nuts. If I have extra stuff and somebody does send me a machine like this, like such a case in point, I'll replace all the knobs and stuff that I do have. I do not have any side covers for it. If I did, I would just give them to them and change those out as well. But it's very, very important to have, you know, as many parts as possible, especially for these machines. This is the BVU. These are the Cadillac of all three-quarter pneumatic machines. These things are amazing units. Very complicated loading drives. They're not easy to fix. Takes a lot of finesse and parts. And I was going to try to just order a brand new arm, but there was none on eBay, so I ended up taking this one out and servicing it and popping it right back in. You know, sometimes you can get parts, sometimes you can't. But this thing is a complete overhaul. Loading carriage, mechanism, replacement and alignment and adjustment, belts, you name it. I replaced 3 cards on this thing that weren't quite right. So I gave them some fresh new cards compared to the cards that were on this. Because, you know, like I said, it's an older machine. This machine's been through a lot, and the capacitors had some, general wear and tear on them, from sitting and all that. So I just changed them out with some fresh boards that I happen to have, and the servo was acting up, so put a new card in it, and now that's working properly. And we did all the front panels and knobs and everything else. This is what you do when you work on a BVU-850. If they try to play, usually they do need an overhaul. But anyways, this is a very nice unit. It's in better shape than it was. It's playing, it's loading, and as you can see, it rewinds the tape back into the deck proper. See, the arm engages, and then of course it's going to eject right out of the unit. Hope you guys enjoyed this video.